Okay, well, great. Thanks everybody for letting Mary Beth and I come and hang out with you today. This is my daughter, Annie. She's 8 and she's gonna help us out this morning too. So she's gonna be our helper. All right, well, the first,
Does she dance too or not?
I'm sorry?
Does she dance too? Your daughter?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yep, I have 3 daughters and they're all dancing now, Dina.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, so we're very familiar with Zoom at our house, and there's another one. So, yep, there's Claire. Okay. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, ladies, is we're going to work on some hip and core strengthening, and then we're going to move on to some balance. So that's what I'm going to work you through this morning, and then Mary Beth is going to kind of show you some other things. All these exercises we're showing you today are to make you successful when we come to do your pre-point valves. So we're going to look at your motion and your strength and your balance, and then we're going to watch you move as you do your turnout, and then some other skills to make sure you're safe to do bigger jumps and leaps. So I'll succeed. So let's get going. All right, Andy, I'm going to have all you guys lay on your side. It doesn't matter which side you do first. We're going to do both. Okay, so what we want to do is make sure that our hips are stacked. You really want to make sure that you're rolled forward. It's really easy to roll back, so it makes life easier, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to actually lead with our heel, okay? So we're going to lead with our heel and go up towards the ceiling, and then we're going to come on back down, okay? So we're going to do an 8 count of that. So here we go. 1, and down, and 2, and down, and 3, and down, and 4, and down, and 5, and down, and 6, and down, and 7, down, and 8, and down. Good. All right, go ahead and do the other side. So all of you guys should feel it in your behind. If you don't feel it in your behind, you might have not been in parallel. You might have turned out. So in this exercise, it's super important to be in parallel, which feels really weird for all of us because we're not used to being there very often. All right, so legs are stacked, leading with our heel again, and we're going to do an 8 count. Up 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8. Good job, you guys. So I see a couple of the ladies kind of more propped up on their elbows and a couple laying flat on the floor. Either way is correct. So it's totally okay to do it either way. All right, does anybody have any questions on that exercise? If you do, go ahead and just speak up. Y'all good? Thumbs up if you're good. Thumbs up? Okay, awesome. All right, let's go ahead and we're gonna lay on our side again. And this time we're gonna do some core strengthening. Okay, so Andy, I'll let you lay on your side again. It doesn't matter. You can do either side. All right, so what we're gonna do is you're gonna lay all the way flat on the mat. So your hand can be kind of tucked underneath your head, and you can tuck your head. You can tuck your arm underneath your head if you want. There you go. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to keep this arm on the floor to start, okay? As you get better at this, what you're gonna do is you're gonna move your hands more onto your hip, and then it's gonna have to make sure that you stay stacked so you're not rolling one way or the other, okay? So everybody start with their hand on the floor, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go coupe to passe in parallel to start, okay? So Annie, go ahead and do coupe to passe. Good. And then when you get to the top, you're going to turn out. And this is where you can take a nice exhale and really make sure your tummy is tight and pulled in. And then you're going to go back to parallel, passe, and then you're going to slide back down to coupe, and then have your legs just end up straight again. Good job. All right, do 4 of those just for time's sake, okay? Here we go. Coupe to passe, turn out. Make sure you exhale, tummy's nice and tight. Back to parallel, and slide down. Good. All right, let's try it with our hand on our hip this time just to see how much harder it is. All right, here we go. Coupe to passe in parallel, then to turn out. Tail right here to make sure you stay stacked. Back to parallel, and slide down and rest. Did that feel a lot harder for some of you guys to stay nice and stacked? Yeah, I'm seeing a few heads shaking. All right, one more time. You can choose your level of difficulty if you want hand on hip or hand on the floor. Here we go. Coupe to passe, turn out, and back to parallel, and slide on down. All right, good job. Okay, for time's sake, we're not going to do the other side today, all right? But you would ideally do both sides. Okay, any questions on that one? All good? Everybody even awake this morning yet? It's early. All right, I think this next one I'm going to show because this one's a little tough. All right, so we're going to do something called a single leg bridge, and this helps with your strength. This will help you with your jumps and your extension. Okay, Annie, please speak to the side. I'll show this one. All right, everybody's going to lay on their back. And you want to bring your feet a little bit closer to your bottom than a normal bridge, okay? So what we're going to do is we are going to take one of our legs, it doesn't matter which one, and we're going to give it a hug to our chest. Okay, you want to make sure your hands are underneath your knees, not on top. Okay, so underneath. Good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go up onto releve or a forced arch on our other foot. Okay? And then from here, we're going to lift on up to a bridge. We're going to hold it for a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then slowly come back down, roll your back down, drop your heel down, and then you can let your leg lower. Okay? Let's try the other side. You can lock out your leg here. You're going to go up onto forced arch, and then you're going to lift your hips up, and you're going to hold it for a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to slowly roll back down, set your heel on the ground, and then set your hands down. If it's too hard for any of you guys, you can just stay away from the forced arch and just keep your foot flat on the ground and lift up from there, just until you get a little bit stronger. Another thing to watch for is with your hips. You want to make sure your hips not dropping. You really want to make sure your right hip and your left hip are both nice and even, so you could balance a glass of water right on your belly button if you had to, okay? All right, any questions on that one? Thumbs up if we're good? Yeah? Okay. All right, so the next one I'm going to have Annie do, you can go ahead and lay on your back again. This is another one for your core. This is called a march. So you're going to start with your knees bent. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a nice big belly breath in. So I want you to pretend like your stomach's a balloon, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to fill up your balloon in your tummy by taking a nice inhale through your nose and fill your belly up with air, okay? And then I want you to exhale through your mouth like you're blowing out birthday candles. Good. Just try that one more time. Nice deep breath in, blow up your balloon in your belly, and exhale. Let all that air out like you're blowing out your birthday candles. All right, so that breath is really important to make sure you're using the right muscles in your belly, okay? So we're gonna keep that breathing pattern going, and now we're gonna add our legs. So you're gonna take a deep inhale, fill your belly up with air so you have a nice big balloon, and on the exhale, you're gonna lift one leg up to, this is called tabletop, okay? And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna lift the other leg up Good. This is the hardest part. And then you're going to set one leg down and the other one. Good. All right. So let's try it one more time. Inhale through your nose, deep, deep, big balloon. All right. Exhale, lift one leg up, bring up the other one, and then set one leg down and the second leg down. Good. So the biggest thing is you want to make sure you're not holding your breath as you do this, okay? So you should be exhaling that whole time, okay? All right, let's try two more. Deep breath in, inhale, exhale, lifting one leg up, lift the second leg up, and then one leg down and the other leg down. Good. All right, last one, deep breath in, exhale, lift one leg up, lift the second leg up, one leg down, the other leg down. Good. All right, any questions on that one? Thumbs up? Thumbs up? Okay, cool. All right, this one is another core one. This is tough, but I think you guys are ready for it, so we'll give it a try. So you're gonna lay on your back. And you'll let you lay on your back. You can start with your knees bent, like they just were, and then you're gonna bring them up to tabletop. Okay, so you're gonna take a deep breath in, like we just did, and then you can extend your legs as straight as they'll go. And then as you exhale, you're gonna lower your legs a couple inches down, as far as you can, while still keeping your back in the same shape. And then you're gonna bring it back up to where you started, okay? So you don't have to have your back pressed against the floor, but you just don't want it to arch, okay? So we're gonna take a deep breath in, and then you're gonna exhale as you lower your legs down, and then inhale to bring them back up, okay? So let's try four more. Deep breath in, exhale, lower them down, and inhale back up. Good. Exhale, pull that air out as you lower your legs down and back up. Inhale. Last two. Exhale, lower, and inhale up. Last one. Exhale, lower, and back up. Okay. So that one is a lot more challenging than the march one, okay? So if the march felt too easy for you, you can just skip it and work on the second one, because the second one is a lot harder to control, okay? All right, thumbs up if you guys are good with that, or otherwise if you have any questions, let me know. All right. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna work on a muscle called our, okay. And he's going to start his schoolwork. Okay. We're going to work on a muscle called our iliopsoas, and it's a really deep muscle that helps us lift our leg above 90. So that helps us when we're doing rond de jambes, it helps when we're doing développés, it helps when we're trying to get into any sort of a la Sapone position, for turns, things like that. So there was a research study that was done that showed that this exercise, it would help you be able to lift your legs 6 inches higher in développé. So how cool is that? We thought that was pretty awesome. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your legs straight out to the side. Okay, and you're going to sit with your arms in second position. And then what we're going to do is we are going to slightly bend one knee into turnout, and we're going to just do a little lift. And then come on back down. I'll keep my hands down here so you can see my leg. So lift and come on back down. Good. So let's try an 8 count. Here we go. And 1, and down, 2, and down, 3, and down, 4, and down, 5, and down, 6, and down, 7, and down, and 8, and rest. Good. Shake that if you need to. We're going to do the other side. If it's too hard for you to sit up this way, then what you can do is just put your hands here, either on your side and still sitting up, or you can kind of lean back, and that'll make it a little bit easier. So choose what's comfortable for you. So I'll do it lean back this time just so you can see. All right, so you're gonna turn your legs out, and then we're gonna do an 8 count, lifting 1 and down, 2 and down, 3 and down, 4 and down, 5 and down, 6 and down, 7 and down, and 8 and down. Good job, you guys. Do any of you guys have any hip issues with that one? Does it cause any pinching or anything like that for any of you dancers? No, I'm seeing head shake no. We're all good, thumbs up. Okay, if it does cause any pinching for any of you guys, then you would just lean back more. So you'd be more in this position as you do it, okay? So we don't want any pinchy hips. All right, let's go ahead and we're gonna stand on up. All right, so the next thing we're gonna work on is our single leg balance with our eyes closed. And this is probably the hardest part of our pre-point test. It's the one that takes the longest for people to improve on, but the ones that work on it will improve on it quickly. So what this tests is your ability for your ankle to adjust to its space when your vision is not helping you. So this is important if you're on stage and the light hits you in the eyes and you kind of temporarily can't see what you're doing, you rely on something called proprioception in your ankle, okay? So we want to work on our proprioception so we keep our ankles nice and safe when we're on our point shoes. So the way we do that is we're going to do a single leg balance and then we're going to close our eyes, okay? And our goal is to do it for 30 seconds. So I'm going to time us this morning so you can just see what 30 seconds is like. And then you'll see if you lose your balance or you're kind of doing a shimmy shake, then you know you need to work on it, okay? All right, so we're going to stand on one foot and cross your arms. And then this leg is not going to touch your other. It's just going to kind of be hanging out, okay? Here we go. And close your eyes. All right, guys, that was 30 seconds. How many of you guys made it? Raise your hands if you made it. Some of you guys I can only see from your waist, so that's okay. All right, let's try your other side, okay? Here we go. Cross your arms, stand on the one foot, make sure your other leg isn't touching, and close your eyes. All right, that was 30 seconds, guys. All right, how'd it go? Okay, that one's tough. All right, I'm gonna turn it over to Mary Beth now, and she's gonna take you through the second half of the sheet. Good job, you guys.
Can y'all hear me okay? Can y'all give me thumbs up if you can hear me? Awesome. So as we keep going forward with this exercise program, the exercises are going to get a little bit harder. So what we've done for this first half is work on kind of the foundational strength that you need to perform some of your harder dance skills. And so for this next half, some of them you'll recognize from dance class, and some of them will be new to you because they're more like exercises. But we're going to go through them. And because they're a little bit harder, if y'all have any trouble with them, or if it causes any pain to you, please let me know and we can help you modify, okay? And so what I'll do is I'll demonstrate a couple, and then I'm gonna let you go forward so I can keep an eye on how y'all are doing it, and give you any pointers if I see that it could help you, okay? So the next one we're gonna work on is actually releves. And so particularly in ballet, it's really important for your calves to be very strong. And so when we do our pre-point evaluations, we like to see that you can do 30 to 40 releves in a row, which can be really hard. So we're not going to do that many today. We're going to aim for 20 today on each leg, but that'll give you a gauge of where you're at, and you also know that your goal is 30 to 40, okay? And so one thing that you may need for balance is a chair. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to come into coupe. Let's see if I can let you see my foot a little bit better. So you can hold your hand on a chair for balance, and you're going to come into coupe. There we go. And you're just going to go up into releve, and then back down. Up to your full height, and then back down slow and controlled. Can y'all give that a try for me? Awesome. I see some awesome chairs, some bars. That's fabulous. All right, let's try to do 20 on this leg that you're standing on, and then we'll switch legs, okay? All right, let's go 1, and down, and 2, and down, and 3, and down, 4, down, 5, down, 6, down, 7, down, 8, down, 9, down, 10. Great job, girls. You're halfway there. 11, down, 12, down, 13, 14, very strong. If you start to have pain, just let me know, okay? 16, 17, final countdown, 18, 19, and 20, and shake it out. Are our calves tired? You can stretch it if you need to. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and switch legs. And let's get started. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. All right, now this next exercise is going to feel good because it works on your ankle motion. And so this is actually one thing that we look at in our pre-point evaluations, because if you don't have good ankle motion, it can affect your ability to plie. And so what we're going to do next is actually plie in parallel, which sounds a little bit goofy. But what you're trying to do is you're going to keep your arches just a little bit lifted here, so you don't want them to be falling in. And keeping your heels on the ground, you're going to bring your knees forward, so you're going to plie straight down as far as you can. And what you want to see is that your knees are able to pass your toes up. Okay, so we're not going to do too many reps of this one. If you find that it's hard for your knees to go over your toes, this is a really good one for you to practice, okay? Any questions about that one? You can raise your hand. All right, the next thing that we're going to work on is your turnout for your plies. And so I'm sure you've heard what I'm about to say before, but when we plie, we want our knees to follow over our second or third toes. And if it doesn't, if it falls inside your feet, it can cause some knee problems. And so what we're going to do is learn how to find your turnout that's not forced. Has anybody ever heard of forced turnout? Yeah, so that's when you are in your first position and then you kind of bend your knees, wiggle your feet out, and then stand back up. And then when you go to plie in that position, your knees can fall inside of your toes here. And so that's a no-no for your knee. And so what we're going to do is rock on our toes, rock on our heels, and then just open your toes up from your hips and place your feet down. And so once you're there, we're actually going to plie. And so you're going to plie down. And as you plie, you want your knees here to be tracking over your second and third toes. So do y'all see the difference between coming inside and then keeping that good turnout? That's very important for your knees, especially if you're starting to feel some crankiness in your knees from class. Any questions about that one? Are we all good? Can I see everyone do a first position plie? Beautiful. Really pull those knees out so that they're tracking over your toes. Beautiful, girls. Does everyone feel okay with that one? Awesome. Okay. Now these are where it's going to start to get pretty tricky. So the next one is kind of a prep for something that we look at in our pre-point evaluations. And then the following exercise is one from our pre-point assessments. And it's probably one of the hardest ones for people to get. And so this is getting to the more challenging exercises that I was talking about earlier. So, what we're gonna, yeah.
With the ankle motion exercises in parallel and then in turnout, is that just something that you test, or is it something that you want them to work on and just do, like, to test themselves? And if their knees are not going over their toes, especially like in parallel, is that something that you encourage them to do just to practice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there can be, if your knees are not going over your toes in parallel, there can be a couple different reasons for that. So it can be a flexibility issue. You have two different muscles in your calf. One is your gastroc, which we're going to stretch at the end, and another one is your soleus. And if it's your soleus that's tight, that exercise, just the plie in parallel, will stretch it. And then the other problem that could be happening is that your ankle joint itself is tight, which can happen after an ankle sprain. And then that plie in parallel could be a good exercise for improving that as well. Okay. So it can be an assessment or an exercise. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just was wondering if all the girls could just turn to the side and just go to parallel and then plie and just see if anybody's knees aren't going over them.
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah. Turn to the side.
Make sure your heels are staying down. And plie.
So Ruth is good. Nora's good. Maggie, can you go any further? Maggie's good. Caitlin, I think you just make it. Abby, I think just makes it. And Audrey, maybe just check in the studio.
Anyone feeling a stretch or a pinch with this? Can you raise your hand? Okay. If you're feeling a stretch in the back of your calf, so that's that soleus muscle. If you're feeling more of a pinch in the front, that's typically more of the ankle joint. But again, just practicing that exercise can help improve your motion. Thanks. And so actually, that's a great question leading up to our next exercise, because our next exercise also takes a lot of ankle motion in that direction as well. It just requires a little bit more strength. So what we're going to do is you'll tendu forward, and then you're just going to plie the leg that you're standing on and reach your tendu leg as far as you can. So if you see from the side, my heel is staying down, and I'm in parallel. We're going to do in parallel first. And I'm plieing down, reaching, and then coming back up to standing. And then plieing down, and then back up to standing. And I'll show you in turnout, and then we'll practice. So if that's easy for you in parallel, a challenge would be to do it in turnout. And it's a challenge because it's a little bit tougher to keep your knee over your toes when you're turned out. So you would do the same thing, tendu and reach, and your focus is where your knee's facing. You want it to be following the lane of your foot, and then you'd stand back up. Can I see everyone try it in parallel? So plie and reach. Reach, and back up. Good job, girls. Let's just really focus on where your knee's pointing. Let's make sure if your foot's a lane, you want your knee to stay in the lane of your foot the whole time. Do you have a question, Maggie?
Yeah. So when I'm doing it in parallel, my foot like automatically goes to turn out.
Okay. Well, then let's, why don't you practice in turnout and let me see it. And let's see if your knee, as long as your knee is following your toes, that's okay. Some of our hip joints are, we're all made a little bit different. And so sometimes our hip anatomy can affect that. Can I watch you, Maggie? Good, and back up. And try again. And back up. Can you try in parallel so I can see you? Why don't you hold on to the chair? I see your mat slipping a little bit. And back up. There you go. That was a good correction. You pulled your knee out at the end. Try again. Good. And then let's try in parallel. So one reason why your foot could be shooting out a little bit is, did you notice how for the plie in parallel, your knees were just going over your toes? Well, that could mean that your ankles are still just a little bit tight, and as they loosen up, this exercise could be easier to do in parallel. When we turn out, it gives our foot a little bit extra cheat room, and it's a little bit harder in parallel. So I would continue to work on your ankle mobility, and then I think it'll get easier for you in parallel. Does that answer your question? Okay, good work. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that. Okay, next one I think is the hardest, that and the balance with the eyes closed, and it's called airplane. And this has been shown to be one of the most important assessments that we use in our pre-point eval. So there's some research behind it. And it really, if you nail the exercise and you practice it really hard, it can really help with the control of landing your jumps and your grand jetés and some of those bigger jumps. So I'm going to demonstrate it once, and then I'm going to watch everyone else do it. I'll demonstrate it from the front and then from the side. So there's a couple different steps to it, and I'm going to try to do my best with the space that I have. On one leg, you're going to go into like half of a needle, and you're going to hold that for a second. And what you want to think about is that your hip bones are pointing down towards the floor the whole time. And then once you're in that position, so your body looks like a T from the side, if you can see that here. Once you're in that T position, you're going to plie your leg down until your hands touch the floor, and then stand back up into your T, and then return to straight. And so there's a lot of moving parts to this that you have to control. We want your spine to stay straight. We want your hips to stay pointing the same direction. and then we want your knee to stay in the lane of your feet. And so what I would recommend is when we practice it here today, I practice it holding on to a chair. So particularly when you're going down, your arms can still be in second, they'll just be resting on the chair, and then you'll plie, touch the ground, return to second, and then back up. And so what that looks like on the side is forward into your needle, like a half a needle, plie, touch the ground, return to that T, and then return to standing. Can I see everyone try that? This one's a toughie. And Allie's also doing it too, if y'all need to continue to see an example. Thank you, Allie. Good, so it's 4 parts. You're going to your T, and then your plie, and then your T, and then standing. Good job. Does anyone have any questions about this? Yeah, you can go ahead, Nora.
Here's a foot, is that turned out or parallel?
Let's say parallel for now, just because that'll make your hips be a little bit more squared up when we go into it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so like I said, this is the toughest one. So if any of these earlier exercises were a little bit challenging for you, we might need to start with those first and then progress to this one. This requires a lot of strength in your thigh, a lot of strength in your hip. And so sometimes we have to start with the basics first. All right, our next exercise is getting into some jumps. And so I know y'all have all been doing really great with Zoom classes and conditioning and things like that. But one thing that happens just naturally with how dance is, especially if we take the summer off and then we start with fall classes, is that you haven't jumped in a while and then you go to dance class and you're doing lots of jumps. And so it's important for you to always keep up with practicing jumps and impact so that you're never going from nothing to from 0 to 100 really quickly. So the next one is going to be an example of jumping from one foot to the other foot, which is like a medium level jump. So where we typically start is 2 legs, like a saute in first position off both of your legs, if you can see Allie doing it. And then this would be a medium jump. So we're going from one leg to the other, and we're going to do that with a petit jeté. And the focus of this exercise is going to be on landing and keeping your balance when you're landing. And then a way to make this harder would be doing like a single leg saute. So if you're in first position coupe, just doing a saute off of one leg, okay? So we're gonna start with that middle ground, and we're gonna start in 5th position, do a jeté and hold for 4 counts, and then we'll switch, do a jeté, hold for 4 counts. So starting in 5th position here, you're gonna brush and jump and land and hold. And then you'll switch your arms. Brush, jump, land, hold. Brush, jump, land, hold. And so we're going to go way slower than you normally do in class because this is really working on your balance. Sometimes it's easier to do it quicker, which seems a little bit opposite. So can I see everyone try it? So brush, jump, hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. Brush and jump, 1, 2, 3, 4. Brush and jump, 1, 2, 3, 4. And last try, brush and jump, 1, 2, 3, 4. Great job. So I'll demonstrate what we do in our pre-pointe assessments. It is those single leg sautés. I'm only going to do 1 or 2, but just for you to get an idea of what we look at. So you can start in a petit jeté if you like. Your arms would be crossed over your chest, but you petit jeté, and then from that position, you're going to go up and down 60 times, which can be hard. And so what we're looking for is if you're able to jump high enough to where you could actually clear your toe box if you were in a pointe shoe, okay? So So you don't need to work on that right now necessarily. This petit jeté is a really good way to start. But if that's super easy for you and you're landing super solidly, maybe you could progress to those single leg sautés. And then the last couple things that we're going to do is going through some stretches.
Hey, can I ask you a question before you move on?
Yes, absolutely.
The jetés, and they're holding for 4 counts. You do want them to be in a plie to hold that, correct?
Exactly.
I noticed Natalie helped Maggie. The other girls, their plie was not deep enough.
Correct. So yeah, that goes with the single leg sautés too, if you do want to progress it. We do like to see that you have that soft, controlled plie as you land, because that can help absorb some of the shock of your joints. Great question.
I was watching some videos that we work on, and they had recommended at home, because we've had some dancers complaining about knee pain, and they were recommending, oh, where did I put it? Hold on one sec.
Sure.
At home, girls, if you have a memory foam pillow, to actually use the pillow, hang on to something, and then try to roll through, ball heel on the pillow so that it's.
Yeah, so one issue with, I'm so glad girls are still dancing and they're able to do it from home, but everyone's floor is a little bit different. And so if you're jumping on really hard floor, that can lead to more impact for your joints than you're used to in your dance class. Using a memory foam, it can be a little bit more unstable, so it's a little bit softer than a Marley floor. So I would just make sure you're holding on to a chair or the bar so that you know you're landing really safely, because it can be a little bit harder to control your ankle joint when you're on a soft surface like that.
It also might be a little bit easier for girls that are older to do that on the memory foam than the girls that are a little bit younger. So kind of that 10 to 12 age, I would just be a little more cautious of using the foam. Just as they're growing. If you guys are going through your growth spurt, just be a little careful with that, just because you have to figure out your new legs, so to speak. So it might just be a little harder because of that.
And I haven't played around with them a whole lot, but they make some cushion socks. That could, I don't know if that could maybe make a difference with the surface that you're on too. So just being creative. Any other questions before we stretch? Is it okay if we go over maybe 5 more minutes? Am I holding anyone behind? Okay. So the next 3 stretches that we perform, we typically look at in the first part of the assessment, but it's always good to stretch and hold after you've exercised. So we're kind of putting in a couple different concepts here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to stretch your hip flexor, which is a muscle in the front of your hip, which is really important to be flexible for your arabesques and for your splits. And then we're going to stretch your calf, like we talked about earlier with your plie and parallel. And then we're going to stretch your big toe, which is important for demi-pointe, for your height of demi-pointe, and then your hamstrings, which are also important for your développés and for your split. So the first one that we're going to do, Allie's in the position now. And so you're going to kneel, one knee down, your other foot up. And what you want to do is engage this glute muscle right here. So if this is my hip bone pointing down, I'm going to engage my glute so it's pointing a little bit more forward. And then you should feel a little bit of a stretch here already just by changing that pelvis position. And if not, lean forward just a smidge. You should feel this stretch right here. Can I get a thumbs up if that's where you feel it? Awesome. Okay, let's hold it. We're just going to hold it for 20 seconds right now. But at home, you should hold it for 30 seconds to a minute. If the hard floor is hurting your knee, you can get a pillow. And kneel on the pillow. Yep, so really engage that glute. You shouldn't have to lean forward too much if we correct that pelvic position well. Good job, girls. All right, let's switch to the other side. Good. Let's engage that glute muscle and tilt your pelvis backwards. Does everyone feel the stretch in the front of their hip here? Can I get a thumbs up? Awesome. So this muscle is really important for your splits for your back leg. All right, the next stretch we're gonna do is your calf stretch. So that's your bigger calf muscle. And you may have seen this one before. So if you need a chair to hold on your hands for balance, you can. What you're gonna do is you're gonna step with your feet staggered. So like this, but you wanna make sure that your toes are pointing forward. So if you find that your toes point to the side, that's your body's way of kind of cheating without you knowing it. So you want to keep your feet in parallel like you're on a balance beam. And then you're going to bend your front knee forward, keeping your heel down on the ground until you feel a stretch in the back of your calf. Can everyone try that? Good. Really push your heel into the ground and keep your feet in parallel. Try not to let them turn out. Can everybody take a look at their back foot for me and see where it's pointing? And if it's pointing out, let's make it more in parallel. Can I get a thumbs up if you feel a stretch? Awesome. Let's keep that back knee straight, super, super straight. Okay, and let's switch sides. Good job. Push your heel into the ground. Keep your knee straight. If you're unable to straighten your knee, bring your feet a little bit closer together. Can I get a thumbs up if you feel a stretch? Okay. The next one is going to be stretching your big toe out. And like I said, that's important for demi-pointe. So I'm going to sit here, but you can feel free to sit on the ground. And you're just going to pull your toes backwards this way. And so what we like to see is that your big toe to your foot kind of makes an L shape. And if it doesn't, that's okay. That just means you need to stretch it a little bit more. Can you use your finger, guys? There you go. And if you feel a stretch anywhere, it'll likely be in the bottom of your foot. Can we switch sides? And really pull that toe back. Does this feel okay on everyone? Yeah. You have a question, Maggie?
Yeah, so I don't think I was feeling it as much in this split. I think it could be that I already can do that.
Yeah.
So
I would say this isn't one of the more common things that we see an issue with because a lot of dancers are on demi-pointe a lot of the time and they likely have that motion. But if you don't have the motion, that's when it can lead to some trouble. So if you're not able to get to that L shape or you feel a really strong stretch in that L shape, that's when you should continue to do this exercise. If you're getting to the L and you're not feeling anything, this is probably not one that you need to prioritize. So you're right, Maggie, you probably already have enough flexibility and motion there.
yeah.
All right, and the last stretch is for your hamstrings. And so again, I'm going to do it sitting on the chair, but you can really do it sitting on you can stretch your hamstrings in a lot of different ways. What I'm going to be picky about is where you feel it. And so a lot of times our bodies can twist out of a stretch or make some different compensations, and you can feel it more in your joint than in your muscle. And if you're stretching and you're feeling it sharp in your joint, that means we probably need to adjust the way that you're positioned. And so what we're going to do is sit on the edge of a chair, straighten your leg out, and then you're going to lean forward from your hip, not from your back, until you feel a stretch down the back of your leg. And so lean forward from your hips, so bring your shoulders down towards your toes. Good, and you should feel a stretch there. Good job, girls. So like I said earlier, when you're holding stretches like this, when you're holding for 30 seconds to a minute, really, if you're holding for more than 20 seconds, you should be doing that after dance class, after practice, after your performance, or after your exercises. Before your dance class, you should be doing more of dynamic stretching, which is moving and stretching, so like lunges or needles or things like that, okay? Does everyone feel a good stretch in their leg here? Thumbs up. All right, well, that's all the exercises we've done today. If any of these you had trouble with and you practiced them, you'll see a lot of carryover to some of those pre-point assessments that we do whenever we're able to come to your clinic, come to your studio once things get a little bit more back to normal. Does anybody have any questions about what we went over today?
So if these girls are wanting really see progress, would you recommend that they do these exercises daily or every other day?
So I would say at least 3 times a week, and you can break them up. So this is a lot of exercises. So if you'd want to do maybe 10 every other day and split it up, that would be fine too.
Okay.
That was going to be my question.
Hold on one sec. What's a good amount of like reps, say, exercises, like 20 reps, 30?
So I don't think I went in and really specified that on these exercises, but what I can do is update it and send it to you because it's a little bit different for each exercise. Like for releves, you want endurance, so you want to be able to do 30 or 40 in a row. For airplane, we only assess 5. And so you can do sets of 5 and just really, really focus on the form and control of it. So I'll go back through, and if you look on the PDF that I sent, there's reps and sets at the top. I'll go back through and be a little bit more specific with that and then send you an updated version.
Pretty awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Great questions. Anybody else? Ruth?
Miss Dina, are you gonna send us like all of the exercises that we did today, like a list of them?
Sorry, I was muted. I did send the PDF of what Mary Beth said.
Oh, okay.
I will send you the updated, and I did see that at the top it said
Sets and reps. Yeah.
Okay.
unclear on that, but yeah, I already emailed that to your mom, I think, when I sent her the invitation for today. So that you should already
Okay.
have the one that Mary Beth sent me. But I'll send a
Just there's a spot I think that says like clinician notes, I believe. So just keep an eye on that, and I'll put in maybe some ways to progress those exercises because some you can add resistance bands, or if it's getting easy, you can do holds instead of reps. So I'll put all that in. I'll make sure you can see that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? No?
Thanks, you guys, for having us today. You all did a great job. I'm excited to see you in person.
Thank you.
thanks, Allie. Thanks, Mary Beth.
Okay.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Hey, Allie,
Yes.
are you doing evals now at Children's, or
Yeah.
you want to schedule a couple of these girls to come in just to have a one-on-one with that this summer?
They're more than welcome to. If anybody's interested in just coming in, they would just need to get a referral from their pediatrician. And I can maybe send you an email just on more of the specifics if anybody's interested to kind of come in and get a one-on-one screen done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have another dancer that I gave her your number.
Okay.
To come in, try to make it.
Great. Yeah, Mary Beth or I are both happy to see her. So, did you have a question?
I do. So if we were to come in, would we have to wear like a face mask or anything?
Yeah, you do. That's the rules at the hospital right now. But it's okay. We're all wearing face masks.
Thank you both so much for all your help.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Bye.
See you in the studio. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.